Hey everybody, Charles from HumbleMechanic.com. Today, we're checking out the refreshed cylinder head of the WhiteWookie. Alright, so today we're going to be going over what went on with the cylinder head that came out of the Wookie. This is the 98 GTI VR6. Now the cylinder head is obviously sitting right here. The engine, the bottom end, is going to go up on the stand one day this week. Transmission's ready to get cleaned. The engine compartment is all cleaned out. So hopefully before too long, we're going to be putting all of these parts back in the car because I really want to get this car on the road. Now I have two cylinder heads sitting on the bench. This is the one that came out of the GTI and is going back in, fresh from the machine shop. This one over here is one out of a different car, but it does a pretty good job representing the condition that this cylinder head was in. This one's actually a little bit worse than this one, but I think it'll be a good compare and contrast for you guys. Now I'm gonna link up a video on removing this cylinder head that I think you guys will really dig. Check that out. But this is one of those things that really could be a DIY, but it's not a DIY for me. Mostly because I don't have the equipment to do what was done to this cylinder head. Now the guys at the machine shop were awesome enough to take some pictures and some video for us so that we could see sort of the behind the scenes process. What happens is the cylinder head goes into a chemical bath. So it gets hot tanked, treated, all the junk, all the grime, all the goop cleaned off of it. We don't have to worry about any carbon buildup in any of the ports, as well as any potential sludging inside of the cylinder head. This also does a great job of cleaning the coolant galleys and oil galleys. Now in addition to that, valve guides and seals get replaced. The valves obviously come out, they get ground down and cleaned up. And of course the valve seat gets taken care of as well. For this build, they did grind down a little bit of the valve guide to leave me clearance in case I wanted to put a bigger set of cams in it, which is probably gonna happen. Now, after it's cleaned and while the valves are out, it goes on a machine that basically removes a thin layer of metal from the mating surface of the cylinder head. And what this does, this removes any debris, as well as any unevenness in the mating surface. The cylinder head is much softer than the block, so it's critical that this stays completely true. And let's face it, it makes the cylinder head look really, really good. Now there wasn't much material taken off of this cylinder head. If you have to go real deep in taking off material, it's not a bad idea to bolt the timing cover up so that that same amount of material is taken off the timing cover as well. But because we did such a small amount, that's not going to be an issue. I've had a handful of cylinder heads from VR6s that I've had to send to the machine shop, and I've never ran into that issue, but if there's a lot of material removed from this surface, you do want to have the cover done as well. Now, after the machine did its thing and took off that fine layer of metal, it's time for the cylinder head to be reassembled. We went ahead and did new valve guides, new valve seals, as well as new springs. And of course, it'll get new followers when the cams get installed. Now, a couple of things are gonna happen before this gets bolted to the engine. I'm gonna take a die or a thread chaser, and I'm gonna clean up all of the studs on the exhaust manifold, as well as the studs that hold the cam caps on. I'm also gonna take a thread chaser and run it in each one of the holes in the cylinder head. So where the spark plugs go, where the valve cover bolts on, where the timing cover bolts on, as well as where the coolant flange bolts on. In addition to that, I will be painting the cylinder head, most likely at this point, going to use a product called Pour 15 from Eastwood, which works fantastic. Keeping it this color, keeping it silver, but I really want to put a layer of protection on it, and that stuff is legit. After that, it's time to reassemble, hopefully with new cams, and then of course it'll get bolted to the bottom end, and as always, new gasket and new head bolts. Now, I know you guys probably asked, Charles, why didn't you just do this yourself? Why did you take this, send it to the machine shop, and let them do the work for you? Clearly, I'm capable of replacing valves in a cylinder head. Not a big deal, but I don't have that fancy mill machine. I also don't have a hot tank. I also don't have the key, right, way to test it. As you can see here, they're vacuum testing it at the machine shop. They have a way to leak test the work that they do, and I don't really have that, especially when the head is off the car. There are ways to do it, but honestly, for as little money as it costs to send it to the machine shop, for the grinding that they did, all the work that they did for me, it was money well spent. Of course, I could have done some of it myself, but I would have ended up having to send it anyway, and I think that was a really good investment. So there she is in all her beauty, all her glory. The next time you guys see this, it'll probably be taped up and ready for paint, or more accurately, I guess, ready for pour 15. So I'm gonna wrap it up there. If you guys have any questions or comments, you know what to do. Hey, if you like the video, throw it a thumbs up on YouTube. I always appreciate that. You can also subscribe on YouTube or on the blog at humblemechanic.com. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course on Snapchat. All right, guys, hey, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I wish this wasn't so heavy. I would have liked to have held it the entire show, but I'm not that strong, so we'll just have to leave it. There is one thing I forgot to mention. We're going to be knocking a freeze plug into this hole right here. This is the secondary air port, so we want to make sure we plug that as well. Oh, and if you do that, that makes your car for off-road use only.